Welcome to the Point of Everything podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. Hey guys, this is the Point of Everything podcast, episode 8. In this episode, I'm going to be discussing the topic of climate change and how there's possible solutions to it with used by the U.S. In today's episode, I'm not joined by anyone but myself. So, I guess we'll just start off. So, I'm going to talk about the Green New Deal. Now, the Green New Deal it's a new plan that the Democrats are trying to put in place to combat climate change. Now, it's been challenged with a lot of skepticism. A lot of the solutions to the supposed climate change issue are borderline socialism and can essentially change the American way of living. So let's talk about this. So one of my issues about the Green New Deal is that it's not run by scientists, but it's run by politicians. If you're going to talk about climate change and the solutions, why aren't scientists leading the solutions and the whole movement rather than politicians that are self-proclaimed socialists? And this is okay. One of the ideas is that the goals was to become net zero emissions by 2030. Now, this is sort of impossible because, well, that's in 10 years. And let's say you have electrical cars, right? So you have electrical cars, they use electricity. Well, the energy needed to make that car, you need emissions from the energies used to put in that car. So you need plants that are powered by coal and whatnot to make that car. So you made the car, okay? You already emitted tons of carbon into the air. So let's say you made the car, okay? Well, some would say this is you're good, right? I mean, you're free of all the emissions. Well, that's not true because once again, the electricity to power the car is made by coal and the not so clean energies. So you got that. So when you add it all up, it's actually the emissions from an electrical car, including the production and the emissions from electricity used in the car, would actually be roughly the same emissions as a normal car used with traditional gasoline. The car used with gasoline is slightly higher, but it's only by a few tons. So they're about the same. So let's begin. Let's keep going with the Green New Deal. There's going to be a 50% budget cut in the military, in the U.S. military. Me personally, I think that is not so okay because we need the military to, protect America, and we have one of the most powerful military in the world. I mean, that's just showing a sign of weakness compared to the other countries. So there's not my thoughts on that. So one of the things with the Green New Deal is that they despise nuclear power. According to NASA, nuclear power is actually the safest form of energy compared to coal. And it's also cheaper. So I wouldn't see why they would disagree not using nuclear power, but that's just me. I personally think it'd be a good option of energy. However, like many good things and ideas, they can be abused. People can use the nuclear power to make bombs, and that would not be good. But, it does have benefits. I don't think, nuclear power should be the most primary source of energy, but, we could still use it. It may be better than using wind turbines or solar panels. So there's that. According to the Heritage Energy Model, by 2040, 1.4 million jobs would be lost. The total income loss of a family of four would be $40,000. Now, this is not so great for the people. The people are the ones that have to pay for these ideas. And now keep in mind, like I said earlier, these ideas of climate change aren't run by science, mainly by scientists. They're run by politicians, because they're the ones that can take the tax dollars from the people and essentially use it to, according to them, to pay for these outrageous ideas, which they're just completely outrageous. The GDP loss would be over about $4 trillion. There'd be a 12 to 14% raise of cost of electric. This is all by 2040. One of the main contributors to the income loss of the people is that the carbon tax would be, carbon would be taxed. If you use gasoline, you'd be taxed, which is it's just crazy. So when you add it all up, the cost of this will be around $90 trillion, which is, it's just completely outrageous. I mean, we're just in debt as it is. So, the only way you can pay for this is with tax dollars. And when you take a lot of taxes away from the people, you're developing a big, strong government. These bureaucrats that are taking the money can tell you that they're going to fund it for climate change solutions, but in reality, they could use it on themselves for their own luxuries because they don't care how the people feel. They're not the ones that have to live with the effects of the changes. So when you have this big, strong government that's taking all the money from the people through taxes, it's really not what America was founded on. America, I think we should have less taxes because it's less government control. So then a lot of people, especially the liberals and leftists, they think that just because you're skeptical or I guess sort of disagree with the whole climate change, that wildfires are because of climate change or different weather events, or climate change is the main contributor. And they label these people that are skeptical science deniers. And it's funny because science is actually mainly met with skepticism from others. I mean, that's just science. People should be skeptical about others' conclusions. The data towards climate change is a little rough. It's not a super real. There's not a lot of real conclusions about it. I mean, there are some, but a lot of them are kind of all over the place. I mean, they've never really been consistent through the years. So then also if there's going to be an event, let's say the earth warms up and, sea levels rise and whatnot, like humans have did for centuries, we always adapt and we always move somewhere else or upland to avoid these catastrophes. Now, actually, it'd be cheaper to avoid these and adapt to these so-called catastrophes in the future, because if you take into account for all the money spent to try to prevent it, it would just be too much compared to if you just adapted to it and lived with the consequences. So again, with the Green New Deal, there's a lot of things that don't contribute to climate change or the solutions to climate change, because they always, in a lot of these plans, always have, I guess I call it the Democrat wish list, and it's these topics that are pretty cliche from the Democrats, such as more equality for Black Lives Matter and Medicare for all. And so it kind of makes me wonder, well, if you're going to take all of our tax dollars supposedly to a climate that's going to kill us 12 years in the future, then why are you having all these other ideas in the plan? Medicare for all. And Medicare for all, you need taxes to pay for that. So it really does make me wonder if they just, want to fund their wish lists. And I mean, it really is. I mean, a lot of the plans to these the climate change is just outrageous. It's all just a wish list to me, but that's just me. So I want to start off with so we need renewables to. This is according to the USGS, Science for a Changing World. So like many things, nothing comes from absolutely nothing. These materials made for these heavily synthesized products are you need a lot of mines for these. Now, some of these mines, such as in Africa to mine cobalt, some of these mines, the workers are under basically slave conditions. I mean, these conditions are terrible. The people who run these mines literally, they don't care if the people die working to mine these ores. And so that's kind of the hypocrisy of it, because the left is all about trying to prevent, someone from being oppressed, or, they don't like slavery. Well, but then again, they want these renewables to be created, but they don't understand that they're created from slavery from other countries, because we don't find these ores in America because, they're just not abundant. You have to go to China for neodymium. You have to go to South America for lithium. It's all just these lithium mines are actually really dangerous. They have water with acidic elements in them. These are really dangerous areas, these mines. So when you need a high demand for all these renewables, you got to think about it. You got to mine a lot. Just the amount of mining needed to make these batteries and these motors and these electrical components. So you need to mine a lot. And with all this mining, you're putting more toxins in the air. You're putting more combat climate change, and these renewable energy sources don't come from nothing. Wind turbines are mostly made of steel, fiberglass, resin, plastic, iron, cast iron, copper, a little bit of aluminum. These are according to the pollutants in the air, which is, you need a county in Texas to power like Texas of just wind turbines. You need a lot of these renewable sources. And then you got to take account for, let's say it's not sunny outside, and you can't use your solar panels at the moment. So you have to have all these batteries, a lot of batteries for these, for this energy to be stored to power, let's say, a city. That's the same thing with wind. There's no wind. You need lots and lots of batteries to power these things if, the weather wasn't working out. So all these batteries, you need even more mining, and you need even more production of these materials that come from harmful mines. Also, just plastic. Plastic is a component in these renewable energies, and plastic is actually made from petroleum and oil. It's heated and mixed with some other elements, and then you get plastic. Now, there are some bioplastics that come from materials from trees and sugarcane. Those are the exceptions. They're renewable plastics. They can be made from the plants. Those are actually just recently discovered. Not just recently, but. So a lot of the climate change activists want to help the environment, but they don't accept the fact that wind turbines kill many birds and endangered species of birds. If they're so far for the environment, why don't they change, why are they making these wind turbines that kills the wildlife? That's not very environmental, but that's just my opinion on that. So speaking of the wildfires contributing to climate change, according to the politicians and some scientists, wildfires are created from a lot of foliage, given one area a lot of dry foliage. These plants are under all these trees, and let's say in California, there's not a lot of forest management. So when the fire comes through, it just wreaks havoc on all these trees and forests. It just comes through all this dry, basically kindling, and just lights the whole place up on fire. And that's because they are for the environment, but they won't, manage their own forests to prevent these wildfires. They don't clean the floors of the forest out. They don't do anything. I mean, they don't even cut trees down to, if there was to be a wildfire, that it wouldn't spread as much, and then it could be contained. This climate change topic, I think these solutions it's not about mostly the climate change, but the solutions that can make nation-changing effects. They could bring on socialism for all we know, and basically control what we can use and what we can't use, such as cars, gas cars, or, gas heaters. We can't use any of that from government control, and that is very dangerous to the United States as a whole. Big government. I don't like big government. So those are my final thoughts. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I know it was just a solo episode, so it was our first. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel, the Point Everything Podcast, and stay tuned for more content. See you later. That's all for today. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel, the Point Everything Podcast. It's our YouTube channel. And be sure to stay tuned for more content. Thanks for listening.